rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness. And let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
do we use this moment to push our government to provide what we need, whether it's...
All right, so that clip is gonna be saved for later. Welcome everybody to the Eric Dawson Show. I'm here with Vincent Squire. He's on the phone. Hey Vincent, I miss you on video, man. We got to get you back.
Oh, I don't want everybody to see my COVID-19 beard.
Well, you know, I was gonna say it's so much easier, right? Because all you got to do is be on the phone. you can be anywhere. Yeah, well, I'm growing my COVID-19 beard back since my job interview with Deidre Viney is over now.
Well, maybe I should take a shot at the gauntlet and let Deidre interview me too.
Oh, that might be nice. We'll talk to her and see. Right?
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
I think that could be pretty cool. So anyway, guys, welcome. We got a couple things to talk about. There were some elections that went on yesterday, and talk a little bit about those. The virus the numbers are going up in some of the states that have reopened. Folks in Florida started acting crazy when they opened the beaches, so now they had to shut the beaches back down. All kinds of nonsense is happening all over the place. And Diane sent and I can attest to this because it's the business that I'm in, right? Baking. The flour is becoming a hot commodity right now.
Yeah.
Vincent, I went shopping. I had to go and get supplies a couple days ago, and there was no flour on the shelf.
Of course. That was the reason all of these manufacturers started saying that they're going to have to kill off their stock, and there's going to be a food shortage. That was their way of justifying or saying to you, we're about to raise prices. Eggs have went up 9%. Flour is up 14%. And let's not even talk about meats like pork, bacon, etc., and beef. So it's all in that game. Everybody wants to capitalize off of this tragedy.
Well, so good news for everybody. My peach cobbler is vegan, so there are no eggs in there, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm not going to go up on the price just because the price of flour has gone up. But a lot of people are. I was in one of my clients yesterday. I was in their restaurant, and they said that every item on their menu is $1 more.
Yeah,
that's what there was a posting in the restaurant said every item on our menu because of what's going on is $1 more. And so what's happening now, and so this is going to be very, very interesting, right, Vincent? Because as people have less money, as restaurants are struggling to stay open, they have to charge more money.
Just to stay open.
Just to stay open. So the thing that they don't want to do, right, so they're actually creating another hurdle for themselves. So they're going to be turning away, or forcing, I should say, away a lot of their patrons because, somebody who's used to going in and paying, $8 for something, now you're paying $9 for it, right? And you get 3 of those things, so now that's $3 more, and you're already trying to figure out where you're going to get money because you may have some financial issues.
Well, let's look at now that they started opening up some of these states. Guess what just went up? Price of gas.
Mm-hmm. But we talked about that, though, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the fact that gas was low because you weren't using it, right? And so as soon as you start using it, they're going to hike the prices up. And so, yeah, so look, it's a cluster, and I don't know what the resolve is.
Well, let's look at the president who bragged about his re-election campaign as he built, which he didn't build, the greatest economy in American history. Okay, the results on his watch, the greatest economy in American history, is now we are worse than we were in the Great Depression. And unemployment is down to 1 in every 5 Americans. And we have more deaths from this COVID virus in the few months' time than we had in the years in the Vietnam War. So let's talk about this Make America Great Again. We're not great. We're
But
going
you know
backwards.
what, though? I'm going to continue to go back on this, and I'm going to play this Stacey Abrams piece. There was something I was listening to today, and I can't remember. I know it was Eric Adams, the representative out of New York, and another gentleman. I can't remember his name. They're actually blaming Cuomo for a large number of the deaths coming out of New York. They're saying that once Cuomo had this information, and once de Blasio had this information, that, which is what I was saying to you the other day, Vincent, you're gonna realize as this stuff unfolds, in as much as people have Donald Trump in their sights, right? You're gonna realize where your state government and your local government failed you. I'm telling you, and I said this the other day. I am not saying that Donald Trump is not to blame, but when you don't mention these other elected officials alongside of him, right? Because they are culpable, and I think that it is irresponsible of us not to talk about their culpability if we're going to lay blame, right? We can't just say Donald Trump. There are things that Cuomo didn't do. There are things that de Blasio didn't do. There are things right now that Murphy's not doing. And so when we talk about in the United States where the majority of those deaths are coming from, those two states that I named are at the epicenter.
Yes, and I agree with you. But let's look at the laws of nature. When a fish rots, it rots from the head first and then down.
But you can't
and they're just a domino effect.
But listen, but you cannot do that. You have to. You can't say, you know what? Because Donald Trump did this, we're going to absolve these people of anything because the fish rots from the head down. They can't use that logic. They have to be held accountable. Listen, let me play.
What you're saying is the fish rots from the head down, starting with our state governor.
No. What I'm saying to you is this: that there was a point in time. So take whatever Donald Trump did. Got it. But beyond that, there was a point in time where Cuomo had information. And the question that I'm asking, and what you're alluding to, is that Cuomo did everything right. That Donald Trump did this.
That's not what I'm alluding to.
Sure.
I'm saying that Cuomo has his blame. He does have that.
Right. Well, then, what I'm saying is this, that we have to talk about that, right? With the same level of fervency that we talk about Donald Trump. We have to talk about Murphy with the same fervency that we're talking about Donald Trump. We have to talk about these mayors with the same fervency that we talk about Donald Trump. Because at the end of the day, they are all a part of the government. You can't pull one piece out without talking about it in its entirety. Let me play this clip by Stacey Abrams. And you know how I feel about Stacey Abrams. When she jumped on the Bloomberg bus, right? But, like I say, even a broken clock can be right every now and again. So let's see if I can...
Twice a day,
right? Let's see if I can find the Stacey Abrams clip. Here we go. Let's see. Where is it? No, wrong.
Down. No, let's get a jam on.
No, I don't want to play it. I don't want to play that. Let's see. Here we go. Do I have it? Thought I had it. Okay. I'm gonna try to get the Stacey.
Sure. The reality is we can't let government off the hook. At the state level, that's where unemployment is the most important because it's your states that are responsible for implementing unemployment insurance. And a lot of states, especially in the South and the Midwest, they've been raiding those unemployment trust funds so they wouldn't have to pay out those dollars that you deserve. And so one thing we have to think about is that the president can't fix everything. We need a better one. But the president can't fix everyone. We have to work on every level of government. It is your state government that decides your unemployment benefits. It's the state government that decides access to Medicaid and to health care. It's also your state legislators who have the responsibility to make sure that your community is getting its fair share of resources.
So what I'm saying to you is this, that when we look at how insecure we are right now, when we look at where folks are right now, we can't simply look at the president. And to Stacey Abrams' point, yeah, he's a bad president. Got it. But we can't stop there. We have to look at all levels of government. And we have to see where they're accountable, where they all drop the ball, and we have to hold them against. See, because at the end of the day, if we don't, and this is my biggest fear, that what they have all done, because they're literally, they all have blood on their hands. But what they're all doing is saying, look at that guy, blame that guy. And I'm saying, no, don't do that, because if we just blame that guy and that's our only focus, then nothing is going to fundamentally change for us. We have to look at all of them. We have to remove all of them. We have to assign blame and accountability to all of them.
Okay, let's look at it as a military strategist or a chess player, whichever you like to consider it. Your first line of defense is usually your best line of defense, in which there's a level of preparation that should be done for any scenario. Also, in terms of your first line of defense, you always have your plan B and plan C, your backup. So our first line of defense would be our president. Okay, everybody agrees he dropped the ball. Our second line of defense would be our governors, which they do have some faults. But one of the biggest faults is that
they got a lot of faults.
Well, there's a lot of deaths going on. Now, at least in terms of Cuomo, Murphy, and the governor in Pennsylvania, when it now became to the point, and they've now got it in their heart and realized that the president was not going to help them, they decided to mobilize themselves. Was it too late? It could have been. Definitely could have been. They should have done that once the president started denying it. They should have been prepared for it. Now, what we're doing now and what they're doing now is damage control. So everybody's going to blame everybody, which most of it is going to lead to the first line of defense failure.
I'm not suggesting that they're not going to blame him. I'm saying that our job is to clear the smoke and to say, call bullshit and say, no, Cuomo, you can't just go blame him. You got to own some of it. No, de Blasio, you can't just go blame him. You got to own some of this. Hey, guys, the rest of you can't just blame him. You got to own some of this stuff. And even, listen, even when all of the dust begins to settle and folks are out of work, right? And then you're looking at the unemployment, and then you're going to want to say, well, this is all the president's fault that I don't have a job. The reality is there were some underlying things there, right? Maybe you weren't skilled, right, to be able to compete. And so where does that lie? So all of these other kinds of things. Now, I'm not saying, again, I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump should not bear the brunt of this. But we can't put all of it on him. I'm saying all the way down the line, there was failure.
Yes.
Right. And that's all I'm saying.
And there's enough deaths that have happened in our country that there are a lot of people who can get a piece of that blame.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you know what? Speaking of the deaths, I got to say this. I saw a post. Somebody said 90% of the people, or 95% of the people have recovered from COVID-19 without using a vaccine. So they said, so keep your vaccine. And what I'll say is this.
Well, that's not true.
So
because that statement is a lie, because there is no vaccine. vaccine.
No. But what they're saying is this. I'm going to repeat what they said. They said they recovered without the need of a vaccine. They're saying so 90% of people who had contracted COVID-19 have recovered or more.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Without the need of a vaccine.
Okay.
And that's a true statement. I'm not suggesting that's not a true statement. But
that's also a very selfish statement,
It is
Eric.
a very selfish statement because you're looking and saying, well, so those other people that whose lives may have been spared, had there been a vaccine, that they're dispensable. I don't know what that noise is, but I asked you to mute your phone.
It's not me. Diane, are you on?
Sorry, I forgot. I'm on cordless things now, and I'm need to get my Roomba going because I'm trying to clean. Sorry.
There you go. Vacuum while you work. You the woman.
I gotta, listen. I have a hard time focusing sometimes. You have a Roomba, Diane?
Absolutely, I have 2.
She got 2.
And do they really work?
Yes, I love it. Yes.
Remember that Daffy Duck cartoon where he had that completely futuristic house and the automatic vacuum cleaner?
Yeah.
That's where they got the idea for the Roomba.
Really?
But I'm saying,
yeah.
But it's really efficient?
Absolutely, it's really efficient. And I have dogs, so I run this thing like daily. I love it.
And so
I love this thing. And I have white carpet, so it makes a difference.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute, so what happened? So it docks itself.
It docks itself. It runs on a battery. So it's basically, just imagine having a remote control car without the remote. And the remote is the docking base. All you have to do is press the button and start, and it goes. Now you can do it manually, or you can do it schedule it. But the thing I had to tell you about scheduling is when you schedule it in a house and you have a house alarm on, it'll set the alarm off in the house. So don't do that. But it's perfect. It'll run any particular time of the day, whenever you want it to run. It's good.
So how does it know that it's cleaned everything?
I guess it goes on a timer, or it just, I don't know what the system is that makes the entire room, but it doesn't go in any particular pattern. So it'll go in various different, like from left to right, up and down, and just go wherever. Now they also have little monitor things that you can put down to stop it from going into certain areas. Sort of like a blocker. I guess it blocks the waves or something like that to keep it from going to certain places. It knows if it gets to a step that it's getting ready to go over a step, so it won't go over the step.
So it has a sensor.
It has a sensor for that as well. And it'll go actually from carpet straight to the floor. So the sensor will allow it to do that. Right. The only time it really gets jammed up is if...
So what if it gets full of dirt? When
it gets full, it'll tell you Roomba is full, or Roomba is stuck, or move Roomba because it got stuck somewhere. So it talks too.
So if you're out and it gets stuck, then you're just stuck.
It just stops. It just stops. It just stays right there.
Got it. We got a caller. Caller, go.
Yeah.
Good morning, family. This is your brother, your son, your king. It's Amir coming to you live from York, New Jersey. Just joining the conversation.
What's going on, man?
Hey, Amir, do you have a Roomba?
Nope. I was just listening to the beauty. I was just listening to the beauty of the technology, though.
It's like when you talked about the I forget what you said, Vincent, scenario with the cartoon, but it's the same thing. It's like having what was her name? The robot from the Jetsons.
Rosie.
Right.
Rosie. Just goes around and does stuff. So it's a wonderful thing. We even have now the mop one. I wasn't so sure about the mop one because I didn't want it to leave the floor and then be trying to mop my carpet. But it also has a sensor thing that you put down to stop it from going to certain areas. So it's actually pretty good. It doesn't do
tracking monitors.
Right. Now, the one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't, of course, it can't get up under the stove, really low places, but it goes under the bed, it gets the dust mites, it goes under the bed, under stuff, under the sofa, all of that kind of stuff. So as long as there's no barrier, it'll go. And if it's lightweight stuff, you know how you store stuff under the bed, pictures or something, it'll just drag it along and push it out your way and keep on cleaning.
Yeah, so one day you go in your bedroom, you go, oh, that's where that went.
Exactly. Stuff was like spread out. So yeah, it's definitely a good investment.
Okay.
I've seen kitty cats ride on them too on Facebook too.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And children.
Now I don't know how that's possible because it doesn't seem like it can hold that much weight. My little dog is scared of it, so when it gets them going, my little dog's out the way. The big dog could care less. He steps right over it or lays down and lets it run into him and just lets it keep going. So I don't know.
So Eric, back to that selfish statement of 10%. Now, this person is saying that, we don't need a vaccine when only 10% of the people die from the virus. Okay, well, that part is true, that 10% dies from the virus. But to say that we don't need that vaccine means that you're saying that, okay, as long as you and your family are not part of that 10%, your life is fine. But let's say that a member of your family does die from the virus, and that vaccine could have saved your life. Would it have changed your opinion?
Well, they'd be dead, so it'd be hard to find out.
Well, I'm part of that 90-something%, and I'm part of the 10% too, because I have family that have passed from the virus, and I have about now today 10 people that have survived the virus, and I can tell you for sure 1,000%. My family will be not getting the virus, getting that vaccine.
Let me ask you a question.
We will not be getting the vaccine.
I want to ask you a question. So the family member who passed away from the virus, do you think if they had an opportunity to get the vaccine, if there was one, they would?
Nope.
So they would just fall on the sword?
So here's the truth. I use the commonality phrase that they passed from the virus. Well, in reality, they were very elderly and very sickly, and they could not beat the virus because of their immune system, not because the virus was so deadly. Because of the 9 people that caught it, the eight of them who are right. Some of them are in Jersey, some of them in Georgia. So that's why I believe
that's not a true statement, because now what they're finding out is that children have been dying from the virus. It's just been the virus has now affected another part. And
okay, so I can only give you the truth of my family. I said my family. My family. I didn't say everybody. So what I'm telling you is 100% true. I'm telling you. So you have to understand. Listen. Let me ask, and this is a basic question for everybody. Everybody can answer, but you can just go on with it. I'm going to ask the question, everybody can just chime in. Do you trust your government?
No.
Okay. My answer is no.
No. So my answer is no. Well, what I would say is this: if you would, I don't know what that noise is.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
All right. If you ask me if I trust them, I mean trust is broad, right? So do I think that they lie? Yes, I do. Right. So I'll answer it like that. Do I think that the government lies? Yes. There's a history of the government lying to us. There's a history of the government covering up stuff. There's a history of all of that. Okay,
right. My
answer is that you trust that you trust, as my father always told me, trust is something that is earned.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I've been a part of them. I know them. I know what you
and your character right here locally. Is that true?
Well, that's the part of them earning your trust, watching their actions. And when we see people in our government that are not good, the problem that we have with our government is this: when people notice that they have some flawed personalities or some very, very scrupulous tactics, when we realize that, what we should be working on getting them out of office. What we do is we re-elect them.
Right, but I understand. I think I understand where Amir is going with this. But here's what I would say to you, Amir. If we were to operate, again, I don't know what that background noise is, but I'm just gonna ask you to mute. If you've got to make the noise, just mute your phone.
Not me. I'm in a quiet room.
Yeah, because it's really not fair to the people trying to listen to the show. But what I would say is this: if we're gonna operate from a premise of never trusting anything, then I think that we wind up with anarchy, right? Like just straight up anarchy, because we just like nobody trusts anything. And I just don't think that we operate like that. I think that we have medical professionals, right? So my doctors, for instance, are not a part of this government that would be lying. And so when my doctors come to me and my doctors talk to me about what it is that I should be doing, then I trust my doctor, right? So in as much as I don't trust, so what is it? Trust but verify, right? Or don't trust but try to verify, or however you want to phrase that. And so when I get the information, if it's medical information, then I contact people who I trust, right? And these are a group of doctors that I trust. And then based on me contacting those doctors, not stuff that I read out of journals and things like that, I literally call a group of doctors that I trust. They've given me zero reason over my 57 years not to trust them. And so those are the ones that I trust. And so we would have to conclude that them going to medical school was a sham, that somehow they were involved in some deeper conspiracy theory to be involved in some government cover-up once they graduated medical school, and that, you know, and it's a lot. It's a lot to digest, wouldn't you say?
That's possible. So let's deal with the facts. Was the Tuskegee experiment a conspiracy?
Oh no. So listen to me.
Was it true?
Right, no. So what I'm saying to you is this: I am not refuting the fact that the government has lied, the government has murdered people, the government has experimented on folks. I'm not saying that they haven't done that, right? I'm simply saying that understanding that they've done it, right? And that there's a likelihood that they could do it again. I don't blindly trust them. So I don't just say, oh, this is what they said, I'm going to do it. What I do is when I hear information, I have a set of professionals that I go to who are medical doctors in various fields, and I ask them. And so now what I would have to conclude, like I said to you, is somehow they're in some deeper conspiracy with the government, right? That this person who went to UPenn Medical School, or this person who went to whatever other medical school, that somehow, you know, though they work at NYU or they work at St. Barnabas, they're plugged in to this deeper conspiracy theory. And I just don't think that that's the case, right? So I'll ask them, and what I try to do, and I would suggest other people do this too, broaden your network of medical professionals.
Information.
Right,
Yeah.
to be able to get the information.
And that's what we all should do. We all should not take a lot of things that they give us, but take it with a grain of salt. But use your resources and reliable sources that you believe and trust in to get to your conclusion of the truth. Einstein said the truth is easy to accept. What's difficult is finding what's true.
Because the question becomes now, and yes, history, we have the Tuskegee experiment, right? We have...
that's just one.
No, we have a bunch of them. And so would you now then say, because of that there will never be a need for a vaccine? Ever?
No, see, I'm not going to say never, but what I can say is this. I can give an account for the fact that the government and your doctor, right, those who play by the rules that they are sworn to, takes express instructions from the government when they give out an instruction. All right, and I'll give you a perfect case in point. I had a 45-minute conversation, right, with one of the doctors at a local hospital. Who's doctor? I'm not going to give his name. I want you to, but he's at a local hospital here in Newark. So what I want to say is this: after me bombarding him with questions that he identified as unlikely that the average patient's family would ask him, he had to say, right, in a way, to give me an understanding of what he was trying to say without saying it. He said, and this is his quote, he said, well, let me just say this to you, and I want you to listen to me carefully. What I am instructed to tell you is what I am telling you. What you found out, you have to act upon on yourself.
Well, great. Now, why don't we do this? Why don't you give Eric the number?
Listen to what I'm saying. So listen to what I'm saying to you. If they are giving a directive by the government, by the CDC, right? Those doctors have to follow that directive, right? And we've seen in Facebook and other venues where there's some doctors who stand up and say, I'm not going to do this because I know this goes against what science says. Or I know I'm going against this. I mean, I'm not going to do this because this goes against what I personally had experience with. There's a lot of doctors that are standing up and saying that. One of them, which is the top 50, using the top 50 doctors in the United States, who stood up and said that this is not something that he would recommend.
Okay,
and his name was public.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you do this? If you have access to this local doctor who's giving a directive, why don't you give Eric the number and we can have him on the show?
Well, I don't need to do that. But I don't need.
Here's a better one.
But wait a minute. So again, Vincent, I don't want to be argumentative. I don't want to debate like that. I don't want to do so.
No, I just like for everybody to hear it from the doctor.
But I can tell you that there are probably doctors out there like that. I went to a doctor. I had to go to a doctor about a month ago, 6 weeks ago or so, and this doctor was telling me, Eric, to deal with what you're dealing with, I don't want to prescribe all of the medicines that other doctors would prescribe. I think that some of these things can be resolved through herbs and other natural remedies, right?
Thank you.
Now, he said that to me, right? I've been to.
What percentage would you believe, Eric, of those doctors think what you said to you? What percentage?
No.
Well, my doctor said the same thing to me, so it's not a very uncommon thing for doctors to say that.
But I'm not trying to have an argument. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to measure the size of my penis to see who's bigger. I'm just trying to have a conversation, Vincent. So my point to you is this, that you do have doctors on one side who say one thing, and you have doctors on the other side who say the other thing. So at some point, you will have to figure it out, right? And that's all I'm saying. So, but I don't think that those doctors on either side are part of some conspiracy. I think that they've studied science and they've drawn conclusions, right? You can go into, look, in terms of whether you're talking about medical doctors or PhDs, you could have a psychiatrist give you one diagnosis, and then you can go to another psychiatrist and give you complete different diagnoses. You have one who will prescribe certain kinds of medication for you, and then you have another one who tells you to go. The motivation that folks are saying is behind this thing is some conspiracy, right, to do harm. And I'm saying, I don't know. I think that most doctors, so I'm going to try to answer the question you were asking me, Amir. I think that most doctors want the best for you. How to get there, they come from different places. The conspiracy theorist says that there is a nefarious intent. And I'm saying, so the majority of doctors, whether they are, whether they want to go the natural route or whether they want to go the pharmaceutical route, they are looking and saying, this is based on all of my experience. This is what I think is going to be best for you.
I agree, Eric. And some people have to remember that doctors are human beings and they have cultural
biases.
So a lot of their medical training is also still based in their culture and how they perceive and who they're dealing with. Because what you may say to a white person may not necessarily go over the same way that you may say to someone who's from the Caribbean islands and what they believe as to healing themselves.
Well, look,
so
I give you another. Look,
and if I can add to what Diane's saying, the healing process consists of two different things: the cultural and scientific belief of the doctor and the cultural belief of the person.
Look, look, I'll give you one more right? And I don't usually like to do anecdotal stuff, but what you're saying is correct, right? So the psychiatrist that I go and see is Sloan Kettering. When I was first going to see them, because they want to make sure that, you know, as I'm healing and everything, that I'm not slipping into some depression, but I'm fine. But the very first one that I went to, and this is while I was still getting chemo and all this stuff, I sat down with this guy, and so the culture, right? He was a white guy. I sat down with him, and within 15 minutes, he started talking to me about prescribing these different medications. Now, at that point, because I was like in the middle of all of my treatment, I was already taking 9 different medications. And so he literally, without having any real conversation, trying to dig into, you know, what I really might be going through as I'm getting all this different information, trying to process it all, he just wanted to prescribe medication. You know what I did? I got up and I said, listen, I need you to find me another doctor. And so he said, why? I said, because not that the medication wouldn't have been helpful, I don't know. But I concluded based on, you know, just a feeling and a bunch of other things that you didn't even take the time to delve into anything. You just went straight to pharmaceuticals. So then I requested, I said, I want an African American or a black woman. I said, I want a woman and I want a black woman. And they found one for me, and not one time, and I've been seeing her now for almost a year, not one time did medication ever come out of her mouth. You understand what I'm saying? So now, but wait a minute. But I will not say that guy is a part of some deeper conspiracy with the pharmaceutical industry to be able to sell pharmaceuticals. See, and that's where I think we leap to, and I look and say that's an individual who, based on his background, right now, not that he's wrong, it was just wrong for me, right? So maybe he's taken a blanket approach, right? Because some other patient might very well need that. And but he's a guy, maybe lack of experience, lack of other things, but I didn't think that it was anything nefarious. I just said he didn't connect with me. And I think that part of the challenge is when we take the medical industry and we lump them into this greater conspiracy, then, especially in our community, well, now you have people who say, well, I don't trust doctors now. And so then they choose not to go to the doctor. Why? Because they all lie. They all part of some bigger conspiracy. I think we got to be real careful with that.
Right. I would never say all of anything. All doctors are not that way. But can we agree on this? Let's agree on that. Let me ask this question. Do you agree that there's an illegal business for organ harvesting? Yes or no in the world?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay,
but you know what though? But when I go...
But listen. A layman person does not have the capabilities to do those kind of operations. Guess who only has those kind of capabilities?
No, doctors. I can't. But listen.
That's not true.
But here's what I'm saying to you again. Okay. But when I went to go get my wait a minute. When I went to go get my colonoscopy, right? And they said that they were going to put me under, right? I didn't jump out of the chair and go, "Oh my God, you're going to put me under, and then you're going to harvest my organs." You understand what I'm saying?
That's not what I'm saying. Hold on. I'm asking you a question.
Hold on, and let me answer your question for you. No, not only doctors have that capability and skills. I've had Army medic training, which actually teaches you how to remove certain organisms in the field and in battle. And I'm not a doctor. So, no, anybody can gain that knowledge that's not a medical professional. So that is part of the conspiracy that actually hindered a lot of our societal changes and health. One of the biggest problems we have with African Americans and our underlying health issues is that everybody keeps going, remember the Tuskegee experiment, and it scares people from seeing a doctor or finding a doctor that's right for them. We need to stop that if we're going to progress as people. Stop sitting up and scaring people and then informing them that, let me finish. We need to stop scaring black people from seeing medical professionals. We need to actually talk to them about finding the right medical professional or doctor that fits in with their ideology and their beliefs. And just as much as there are bad doctors who don't fit in with us, there are good doctors who we can find to do what we need.
And that's really all. And that's the only place that I try to get to. So when I see these conspiracy theories, what people conclude is that the medical industry is attached to this conspiracy with Big Pharma and with the corporation of white supremacy and with all these other people. And then you're right, Vincent. People say, I don't trust doctors. That's what they say, right? And they don't know, and we don't teach them how to find. And so somebody will, it literally, this concerns me. Somebody will throw out this conspiracy, but won't take the time to understand where it might land, on whose desk, on whose ears it might land, and then what it might do to them, right? Because now they have a piece of information, but they don't have all the information. And so, okay, fine. Well, where should I go to find a good doctor? What question should I ask? There's no follow-up beyond that, beyond, oh, don't trust this. Oh, don't get a vaccine. And I've seen it all over the place. People, oh, don't put a mask on. Oh, don't do this. Oh, go outside. Oh, we're going to deal with herd. Listen, and then it's pieces of information like this herd immunity thing. Do you know that for herd immunity to really be effective for this thing, it would be about 5 or so years? Right? But nobody talks about that. And so in that 5-year period, while people are, because they got piece of information, right? So they go, hey, listen, I'm going to wait for herd immunity, right? By the time your immune system builds up, it's about 5 years. Don't take it from Eric. Do the research. And then even go ask some of those people who are doing these YouTube videos talking about herd immunity. Ask them, what's the timeline? But they don't give you that because they all have an agenda. And my biggest concern, because I'm always about my people, is that we already have a distrust for doctors. And so when we now feed that with pieces of information, then folks are not going to go to the doctor.
Correct. And that causes people to die for things which could have been easily cured, but yet they did not go to the doctor because some ignorant fool told them, don't trust doctors, just go ahead and take these aspirin.
Yeah,
that is the ignorant fool that told them that.
So I get,
but I'm talking about people who are educated like Dr. Sebi. Was he an ignorant fool?
No,
I don't
but
even
you know
know
what
who
though?
he is, so I can't make that decision.
So this is what I'm saying. So this is one of the most prominent. Listen, Vincent. You're the only one who don't know who he is on this phone. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Dr. Sebi was the only person, especially black man, right? Only person or black man who took the FDA to court and beat them, proving that you don't need drugs to cure the diseases that America has that's uncurable.
Yeah, he found the treatment for herpes using a change in diet.
Wait. He cured several hundred diseases and illnesses and things that the United States has as uncurable. He cured them. And in court, he proved it. All right? So there's a large community of people, and Eric know about these people because I'm quite sure he's ran across them. Some of them being doctors and some of them not. But when I talk to Eric, and Eric will tell you this, and he'll be honest with you about this. When I found out that he had cancer, I immediately gave him some historical things that our community don't use or don't know or not familiar with that absolutely have a positive record of fighting cancer. Right? There's doctors who have tested using selenium and says that those selenium treatment is more effective at killing certain cancers than any chemo that you can use. And they're all on YouTube. These are medical doctors.
Okay.
Now, is that not true, Eric? Did I give you a few amongst all the other people that gave you information that other than drugs can help you with your situation?
Sure. Hold 1 second. Caller, please go.
Good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing? This is Farrakhan. I'm sorry, guys. I just woke up today, so I've only been listening for a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes. But as I'm listening to you guys discuss this healthcare issue, I just want to say, for me, and for most people that I knew, economics plays, and I'm sure you guys maybe have touched on it, and maybe I just missed it, plays, I think, the greatest role in why particularly black people don't seek the proper medical care. The people I know, lack of insurance or underinsured, whatever you want to call it, has been, for my knowledge and for myself even at times, basically been about that. It has never been about, I've never said I ain't going to the doctors because of the Tuskegee experiment.
There's a lot of
experiment to understand historically what they'll do to us. But then I knew that period. I don't need the Tuskegee experiment to understand what this society or what the medical industry will do to black people. And it's for most of, I don't know any financially affluent black people who say, I'm not going to the doctors because I don't trust doctors. The only people I know that say I ain't going is because they have a type of health care, and they're in the part of the aspect of the healthcare system that gives them limited or lesser treatment based on, their ability to afford it. That's all I really thought.
That's true. Oh, to answer your question, Dr. Sebi, his real name is Alfredo Bowman, born in Honduras, 1933. He was a self-taught herbalist who came up with the medical herbs which controls the pH balance of alkaline. So, in fact, his book, the person who actually investigated him and was working on his documentary, he was murdered. That man was by the name of Nipsey Hussle.
So Farrakhan.
Eric, I have to say something. Vincent, I don't know if I feel the same way other people that are listening feel. Sometimes I don't know if you are being helpful or you're hurting the masses in your approach in the way that you talk about stuff. So I just need to first address that. The second thing, what Farrakhan talked about is absolutely true. There was an article I sent to you earlier today, Eric, and I know you didn't have time to read it, that talked about the disparity of healthcare with poverty and housing. And in some places in the United States, people don't even have running water or plumbing systems. And they don't have the ability to be able to cook indoors because of their housing situations, whether they're in transitional housing or things to that. So there are a lot of things that are incorporated in the reason why the spread of this disease, especially, and many other diseases happen is because of our poor healthcare system. Going back to what Stacey Abrams was talking about on the virtual call the town hall yesterday, she addressed that. Until we as a community and elected officials and everybody start to address poverty and housing, this virus will not be the first or the last virus that will kill off a mass amount of people, because we cannot continue to ignore poor housing conditions, poor health care, and poverty. And it's usually the people in poverty that are lacking the most. And when everybody starts to recover from this, we will still be behind everybody.
Right, and
that's true, and I agree with that 100%.
Wait. Let me say this.
Eric had something to say.
Let me say this. And I just posted the article, right, for you guys to read. This is an article that came out in 2017. It's in The Hill. The headline is "Black Americans Don't Trust Our Healthcare System, and Here's Why." That's the headline, and it talks about how blacks generally are not treated fairly, how we're abused, and then that plays itself into the healthcare industry, right? So I'll just read the first paragraph. It says, many Americans looked upon the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, with disgust and disbelief. However, many black Americans looked upon the event as a reaffirmation of what they long since have known. Vicious racial hatred has always boiled beneath the surface. This attitude has shaped many black Americans' approach to health care. Right? Many black Americans.
If I could finish Diane's comment. No, Diane. What I do believe is this, especially dealing with African Americans in health, and this is for one particular reason. I have some family members who have died of simple diseases because they did not trust doctors, because they were all about the Tuskegee experiment, and doctors just want to harvest your organs, or they want to do this or do that. So they believed in the charlatan who was selling this freaking snake oil potion to them, and they died. So when you post something to me that does not meet the criteria of being studied, documented, and posted, I get a little passionate about that, because you lead people to their deaths. So you tell me about Dr. Shelby, and I look at it, and he's not a doctor. Now, I'm not discrediting the fact that he is not a medical doctor, but he got the name Dr. Shelby by posting it on his bottle as Dr. Shelby.
It's Sebi, but anyway, but let me finish reading this thing, because I want to address what I think is the underlying issue here, right? So we can get into the weeds about this, but I want to address what is the overarching concern that I have. It is a lack of trust that already exists. And that's what I was saying in the beginning of this, right? And so I'm going to finish reading pieces of this article, and I posted it so you guys can read it. It says, trust is not only the foundational element to a therapeutic doctor-patient relationship, but also it is a vital factor in patients' decision-making to seek help early before diseases advance beyond treatment possibilities. All right, and then it gives a historic perspective here. The U.S. medical establishment has a long legacy of discriminating and exploiting black Americans, right? So we can go to the Tuskegee experiment and all those things, but it breaks down why, in this article, it breaks down why there's a psyche in the black community in terms of looking at the healthcare industry. And so my only concern is this: when we have conversations about it, when we throw out pieces of information, right? Not being experts ourselves, but we take on the role of an expert by saying, and this one said this, and thus is thus. My question is, do you have any idea of what's in the wake of that comment or post or statement that you made? And whose ears it fell on, and because of that, may not seek the proper health guidance that they need. That's all I'm asking. Like, we just have to be very careful about it. And yes, Amir, you gave me some very helpful stuff, but here's what I'm going to say. Again, understanding our underlying conditions. If we conclude that we are by nature, well, let me not say by nature, but by habit, not by nature, but by habit, we're not intellectually curious, right? Which means that we're lazy. So somebody tells us something, we believe it, because we're not going to go look it up ourselves, right? So, but that's not me. So when you gave me the information you gave me, and I thanked you for it, I then went and did my own research, right? I sat and talked to my doctors. We determined some underlying issues. And again, here's a perfect example. There was some well-meaning family and friends who said to me, hey, Eric, you know what a great thing is for cancer? Soursop, right? That's what they told me. Said, you should drink soursop tea. You should make some soursop smoothies. You should do. I looked it up. I read it. It seemed to be okay. But then I went and I talked to my doctors. And given the underlying condition, medical condition I had I been taking the soursop, had I been digesting that, it would have had an adverse effect on me. So, generally, it may have helped somebody else. But for the person who's sitting telling me they don't know my underlying conditions, they're not a medical doctor, and if I was not intellectually curious, I would have been taking something that was ultimately detrimental to me. And that's all I'm saying. So we got to just be careful. So I would never say to somebody, based on me now understanding, having gone through some of this stuff, what I do is I try to proceed with caution. Hey, ask your doctor about this. Go ask your whatever about this. But I'm always directing them to a medical professional. But if we are now concluding that all medical professionals are somehow involved in a conspiracy theory, then who do you direct them to?
Right. Well, I never said that. I would never say that. I'm just simply saying that I don't trust the government. And anything that the government puts out on a large scale for people to adhere to, 99% of the time, it adversely affects our community. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling nobody not to get medical attention. I've had several people, and this is in lieu of me sharing this water, because it helped me. So, and me sharing this alkaline water with ingredients in the water that's not in any other bottled water, one being zinc and the other one being selenium, different people, once their immune system was rebuilt, because they were number one underlying health condition that 70 to 80% of the people in the United States suffer from is dehydration. Mm-hmm. Chronic dehydration causes disease when certain organs are starved of water. So what the doctors don't tell you is that they'll give you medicine to treat these diseases when in actuality you're just dehydrated.
Oh no, and listen,
my doctor told me to actually drink a lot of water during my process. But here is one thing, and I know this for myself. When I was running for freeholder, we set up a free flu shot. And we target market the African American community in Camden, Blackwood, and Sicklerville, and we had it set up in Cherry Hill at the hotel. Now, we did 70% of our marketing in the black community. We did 30% of our marketing in the white community. Now, this free flu shot, right? You know how many black people showed up? 4.
Right.
We had 630 white people.
Yeah.
And the flu is the third largest killer of our black senior citizens.
Right. So
because they don't believe in doctors.
Right. So I just want to be cautious about it. So no. I don't want to belabor it. Right. Because what tends to happen is we just kind of right. So I said my piece. I just think that people should be more intellectually curious. That you should take information, you should have trusted doctors, you should do your reading, and then you should try to work that out. Amir, so on Wednesdays you call in, and we spend some time talking about financial literacy.
Right.
People are hurting right now,
right?
Financially, and it's gonna get a whole lot worse before it begins to get better.
True.
I want to talk about some practical things that folks should be doing to, to try to weather. To try to weather this storm.
Right. Excuse me, Eric. Before anybody says about what you just said, Eric, about people hurting, I saw the strangest. They took it off the screen like in 10 seconds, but they're like really fast. Last night I was watching CNN, and I think I actually recorded it. I believe it was Anderson Cooper. They put a poll up with Anderson Cooper. No, it wasn't Anderson. It was the lady that comes on before Anderson Cooper. And the poll said that 52% of Americans said that this shutdown hasn't financially affected them at all. Now, I don't know where they got their statistics from. I forget Aaron, whatever, the one that comes on before, Anderson Cooper. That's whose show it was on. And I was like totally drugged. I was like, did that just say 58%, 52% of all Americans that they polled said that this shutdown hasn't affected them at all.
But here's the thing that we know, right? We know that they didn't poll black people and brown people. We know that they didn't poll them, right? Because if you look at the service industry, which is primarily comprised of black people and brown people, it has been decimated. And
That's true.
Right? I mean, there's no argument there. And so the only industries that haven't been are those higher scale industries where people can work from home. So if you just got transferred from your office to working at home, then yeah, it didn't affect you. In fact, your life is much better. Why? Because you're saving on gas in terms of commuting to work. You're saving on time. You're able to spend more time with your fam, right? You're saving on food. You're saving on all. So your life has actually gotten better. And I know people who are in that space right now. They're like, yo, this is beautiful. I don't have to eat out. I'm saving money from going and getting lunch. I'm not taking the train into work anymore, so I don't have an expense there. I don't have a gas expense. I don't have any, right? So, but that's not the 33 million people who filed for unemployment.
Yes.
Right? So if you got 33 million people file for unemployment, 14.7%, right? Is that the number now? Right, 14.7. I think that's where, right? Great Depression numbers. Yeah,
you're right. 14.7%, which is basically one out of every 6 Americans.
Right. So 1 out of every 6 Americans. So, like I said, look, you can do polls. This just goes to show you can do a poll. And you can get to whatever you want to get to, whatever narrative you want to get to. The trick in polls is looking in the tabs, right? And then you got to know the questions that were asked, and then you got to know the grouping of people that they decided to poll. So I don't believe it at all. I believe that people are hurting. When you see these lines. But here's the other thing: they stopped showing. Remember early on, and I got to try to figure this out. They started showing these lines of people, these food lines, but you had a lot of white people in these lines, not black people. In these what do they call them? The food pantry lines.
Food banks and pantries.
Right. I haven't seen them lately. See, so there's something going on in terms of a narrative where I think they don't want people to really realize pain, because I think that both parties are going to be in trouble if everybody got on the same page. If the people who are really in pain all got on the same page, there'd be a revolt. And I think that this is what I think is going on, Diane. Tell me if, and this is my instinct, my spidey senses are tingling, that the Democrats first thought, right, like, so the Anderson Coopers and the rest of them, CNN and MSNBC, thought, you know what, we're going to lay this all on Donald Trump's shoulders, right? So we're going to say all this pain that everybody is feeling is over here. But I think that those people are smarter than that. And they realize, no, some of it, yeah. But then, you know what, you're responsible too. And then when they started turning on them and looking at them and holding them responsible, and I bet you they did some polls that they're not going to show you where people are blaming both Democrats and Republicans. They say, oh, we can't use this tactic. And so now they're backing off saying it's not as bad. It's not as bad. But people are in pain. And how do we, from an economic standpoint, what do we do?
So we had touched on something last week. At the end of the conversation, we were talking about technology. And today, ironically, with Diane, we were talking about the rumba, which is also technology. I think that we're in a time in history, right, that is like no other time in history before. There's never been a time in world history where a citizen of a country can take part in a currency before the country actually produces that currency, right? So we're at a point in time in history that nobody that I know that's still alive has lived through a currency change, an actual change in the currency worldwide is where we're at right now in the world. So, regardless of where you are, free. The word free, if you can do something and start any activity for free, it's the best for you because you don't have to put out any money, right? But all of us can agree that we have people in our circle of influence that are from poor people, working class, poor, middle class, and some wealthy people. If all of us can agree we have someone in all of those different classes, if you can start to learn a new technology that you can start for free, right? And you now share this technology with everyone you know who you know for sure who are not abreast of it. Because here's the truth. 99.99%, right? 1/10 of the population of this world actually knows and understands cryptocurrency. 1/10, right? And what we can all agree is that it's come to the point where it's becoming a household conversation. Regardless if it's at one end of the spectrum where, it's a scam, it's the New World Order, from people who don't understand it, to people who trade it and buy it who understands that the tail does not wag the dog, right? The industry have chosen to purchase or to trade out of the dollar into a currency that's not manipulated by central banks. So my answer to that question, Eric, is we need to mentally equip ourselves with the information, because there's two basic definitions of financial literacy, right? One of them, and we never really touched on this topic, but one of them is a basic definition, right? Which is what they call the K, right? Which is the learning process, right? Then the A, the action, to take action, and B, which is the behavior. Once you learn something new, once you do something for so long, you know it's not working, so you have to learn something new. Once you learn that new thing has a property that can benefit you, you take action. Once you take action, that action will change your behavior. That's basic financial literacy, right? So the advanced definition is when you see something in the market that's changing, right, due to economic climate, you should be able to see it and adjust your finances, your income, your savings.
And I get that, but so I mean, this is, I guess what I'm saying is this. Diane, you sent an article where you have the Democrats now are floating the idea of a $3 trillion stimulus package now, right? Because people are in such pain. You've got Cory Booker and some other senators talking about a $2,000 a month, stimulus check to every American until the COVID-19 thing is over. You got 33 million people file for unemployment. You got the unemployment rate or jobless number at 14.7. Well, unemployment at 14.7%, right? The jobless number, I don't even know what that is. What I'm asking is for those people, right? Some very practical 1, 2, 3 steps to change. Yeah, they need to change. They're gonna be forced to change their habits in order to be able to get through this. And I don't know that cryptocurrency or stocks or carrot bars or those kinds of things are practical for that 33 million people or that 14.7%.
You see, I do, because I understand what it is. I understand the value of it. See, here's the thing, Eric. We got to stop relying on the government to take care of us. That's the one thing we have to stop. That has not gotten us anywhere. We are in the position we're in because we trusted the Democratic or Republican Party. The moment when the masses of the people wake up and find out that we are our greatest assets, the individuals, each other, what we can do for ourselves, well, we can take a full control over ourselves and stop waiting on somebody to save us. That's what I'm saying to us. If we can take that money, that stimulus for those who don't have an income, take that stimulus and start exchanging it for an asset that's going to outpace the inflation that got us in this position.
Here's what I'm asking you. So I got no money. I have zero money. right?
Right.
I'm literally, I'm on the balls of my ass right now, and I'm waiting for a
Right.
stimulus check to come in so that I can pay some bills so that my credit doesn't get more screwed up than it is. To have the conversation and say, well, take that stimulus money and not invest it, right? But purchase something that I'm gonna save. And I'm saying, well, okay, but I got these bills, I got this stuff. So how am I saving anything when I got all of these?
Exactly. Here's the thing, Eric. So did you agree if we're home, we're not working, we have what on our hand? Time, right?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's start with the poorest. Let's start with the poor and then move our way up to the middle class. I'm not concerned about the wealth because they're already good. Poor people, right, have nothing but time on their hands to learn a skill that could potentially remove them from being poor. Learning how to trade the new currency that will replace the dollar.
But wait a minute. But let's talk about the poor. So I think
it's free.
Like,
so we're not using that money right now.
What do you mean you're not using the money?
In any word, and what I'm saying to you, to learn a new skill,
what Eric is saying is this. You're talking about the poor people should actually use that disposable time that they have to learn how to trade with the cryptocurrencies. But what Eric is saying to you is this. The poor people may have the time, but they don't have the money to trade.
This is what I'm saying to you. To learn a skill, listen to what I'm saying to you. Learn this new skill, to learn a new skill, right, that can potentially, you can get paid to teach people with money.
Right.
I'll give you a perfect example.
No. Wait. I want you to give me the sample in a second. Caller, go.
I just want to say, Mayor, I don't know if we can talk in absolutes like that. To say something like poor people have nothing but time to sit down and learn some new trade. Poor people have nothing but, I better get something going so I can get some food today. Poor people have that. Right, you understand? See, we can't, and I think that's why there's always such battles on this segment of the show, is because everybody's talking in these extreme absolutes.
Right.
No one can say poor people have nothing but time to learn something new. Hell no. Poor people got nothing but time to figure out. They got 8 hours or 24 hours to figure out how to get the next meal. So because of that, we're stuck in our houses. What are we gonna do?
Wait a minute. No. So, I think that you're right, Farrakhan, which is what the picture I was trying to paint. I'm looking and saying that people are food desperate, right? People are housing desperate. Some of these people have 2 or 3 children that they have to deal with, crying babies. They've got a bunch of stuff. So I'm saying,
homeschooling.
Right. So they're homeschooling. They're doing. So I'm saying, what category of those people do you say have time on their hands?
I'm saying that the people right now who are home because of COVID-19.
Which people? Which ones, though?
Which people? All of us.
No, that's what I'm saying. And I'm agreeing with Farrakhan. No. Go ahead.
What you're saying?
What I'm saying to you is this. So some of the people who are home don't have access to internet. Some of the people who are home, their lights are about to get cut off. Some of the people who are home, their phones just got cut off. Some of the people are home, they didn't eat breakfast this morning, they're not gonna eat lunch, and they're trying to figure out whether they're gonna go stand on the corner and get a couple dollars by asking generous people, to give it to them so that they could take it back to their house. That is the urgency that's happening right now.
How many people on the phone is in that position?
What?
How many people on the line is in that position?
No, but okay, so
I want you. Let's be practical. We're not talking absolutes, right? We're not talking absolutes. We're not talking about the whole population.
But you're also looking at people on this line that are talking to you that do not have disposable time. We have things to do.
Oh, really? In a COVID-19 environment?
Yes.
Okay, so let me say this. I'm not trying to cause a battle or back and forth. I'm telling you that in the next 36 months, that we will enter a change that has never happened in the United States
I'm not
in our
listen,
lifetime.
I don't even want to dispute that anymore. Listen, I don't.
Okay, so let's take action to learn how to beat it.
Amir,
is what I'm saying.
Listen, but I don't want to
let the government take care of us. All of
Amir,
us. Come on now. We can't wait for that.
Amir, I don't want to.
What are you saying, Eric?
Look, I don't want to dispute that anymore. Right, what the government is doing, how long it's going to take for them to do this, when the currency is going to shift over, when the dollar is finally going to fall off the earth, all of those things. I'm saying that you have people, right, literally, their issues are 2 inches from their nose. Like literally. You have people.
Some people you can't help, Eric. Yeah, you can't help.
But those are the ones that I want to. Right, but what I'm saying is this.
But see, that's one. So let me say this. So if you have a solution for those people, then you give those people the solution.
Right.
The solution that I have is for anyone who wants to adapt and take precedence and take control over their lives. I am not talking to one dynamic of mindset. I'm talking to anyone and everyone who has the understanding that they have a responsibility to take control of their lives.
Got it.
That's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking about people who are sitting home that are poor on the street with nothing or about to be put out. I can't help everybody, neither can you.
Got it.
So if you have an answer for them, you help them.
Got it.
But I'm talking about helping the people that's on this phone and the people's children that's on this phone, the people's children that's on your readers, your listeners. 99% of your listeners have Wi-Fi because they're listening or watching on the phone or computer.
How do you?
So let's not create an impossible scenario of disparity when we're talking about people.
What Farrakhan was saying, and which makes your statements argumentative, is that you're making statements and percentages based upon no fact. When you say that 99% of his people have Wi-Fi or whatever the case may be,
if they have a phone and a computer and they're on this live,
Well, this is true.
And they're watching Eric, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. So
no, some people just never mind. That gets into the argument.
I'm talking about, it's not an argument. The people who are watching this radio show every week are not amongst the people Eric is talking about. So let's be real about this.
Right. But some of them no. Okay. So again, so for the people who want to so let's and then I'll talk in more practical terms then. But I'll let you finish talking in the terms of people. So from your perspective, there are a group of people who should be looking to off-ramp their money, say, because I guess where I am is there's nothing new in the conversations on Wednesday. It is that they should off-ramp from the dollar. They should look at technologies. They should look at cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and they should look at a vehicle like Karatbars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the thing that we were touching on last week that we didn't get onto was the technology, the blockchain technology. I think we ended off with that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying to you, in the same vein that our sister Diane was talking about with the Rumba, right? So that's a technology that a lot of people are buying into who have homes or apartments who can afford that, right? So those technology won't apply to people that's homeless, that don't have phones. We're not talking about that, right? So we don't keep it in that same vein. What I'm saying to you is this: we have an opportunity. Anybody who has a will to do it, to change our mindset and become and focus on not becoming staying as consumers, but there's a whole world of technology, starting with blockchain, that you can teach people, anybody, black, white, green, anyone, because most of them don't know it exists or don't know how it works. But because we teach them about this, you can earn an income from doing this, from this company, from home, with no money. That's what I'm saying to you. Right. So if I talk to a lot of my friends, and I know you guys probably have somebody in your circle who are doing Instacart, who's working for Instacart or Amazon. These people are doing whatever they can do to keep their incomes going. Right.
Okay. So how do people do it with no money? Can we get to that?
Yes, I said to you, it's free to start, Vincent. You can start your account in 10 minutes, 5 minutes with no money, no social security number, no credit check, none of the things that are inherently keeping our people from being bankable. You don't need any of that.
Start your account where?
Online, on your phone, on your watch. Because here the truth is, so listen, Vincent, just listen to me for a second. Would you agree that the average 12 to 15-year-old today has a phone with internet access as opposed to 30 years ago?
Right.
What I'm agreeing with, I can't. What am I going to
No. I don't want to do that. I don't.
How do we do it online?
Right. So Vincent, I mean, what I want to know in like maybe 3-4 steps, right? So,
yes.
And then we're gonna there are a couple of things that Diane sent that I want to chat about as well. Please mute your phone. Thank you. The 3 or 4 steps. So people are listening now. You've got an audience of folks, right? There's a technology you want them to consider as a source of income, right? What do they do?
You said one of the steps?
Yeah. What are the steps to doing it?
So step 1 is to register your account.
Where?
Free, right?
So that's what Vincent is saying. Go ahead.
So to register an account online for free as an affiliate.
Where?
Correct? Now, say it again.
Where?
Online. www.kingofcurrency.net.
Okay.
www.kingofcurrency.net.
Okay.
There's a video, a 20-minute video that explains, because most people don't know the history of the United States and the monetary
No. I
system.
just want the steps.
Okay, so you register for free,
right?
And decide whatever amount of money that you want to start saving in physical gold, from $6 a week to whatever you can afford.
But you were talking technology.
Okay, the technology is called blockchain. So our company has a cell phone, right, that runs on blockchain technology in a world where most of the population have cell phones.
No, but I understand it. But you were saying, I'm just trying to get to you were saying that they could go and learn the technology for free.
Right.
That they could get an account.
The trading. Okay. So we have online every week. Every day, we have a training that teaches you how to trade cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. You can start as little as $1, $5, $8, whatever you can afford. That technique will show you how to grow exponentially whatever you can afford to trade.
But where's the technology? You were talking tech. Okay. All right.
The technology is the blockchain, Eric. And what you're doing is learning how to trade. If you have any source of income, learning how to trade your small amount of money, right, or large amount of money, into an asset class that's going to exponentially grow in value.
All right, so they're really not learning the technology. So it's really not a technology that they're learning. They're learning how to.
Absolutely it is.
But
absolutely it is, because the blockchain is something different from anything that ever existed.
No. But okay, got it.
Amir, it's not a technology, brother.
It's not a technology.
I agree with what you're saying to do, but it is not a technology.
Right.
So what do you call blockchain? You're not teaching them how to create blockchain. You're teaching them how to trade money or
on a platform,
an asset class using blockchain.
Correct.
Right. Which is the technology. Right. But do you know how to create a blockchain?
No, I don't have to.
So you're not learning the.
I don't have to. I don't have to.
Okay, got it.
No. You learn how to use it.
Again, I'm just trying to understand. So in the
That's
end,
not what you're doing.
So look, because I want to look. I don't want to minimize.
Okay, I just looked at it and
but I don't want to do that. I don't want to minimize what you're offering. I just want to be specific about it. So for people who are listening, who have time, who want to make investments, you can use this technology in order to make your investments.
Yes, to grow your income or savings hundreds, if not thousands of percent faster and safer than you can with the bank. I got all. Right.
I got all of that. But at the end of the day, it is a vehicle through which, right, people can trade.
No, it's not. No,
it is. Vincent, how could you say it's not? And you don't even own any crypto.
Okay. Stop. Vincent, please. Vincent, you can't
talk from ignorance.
Excuse me, and this is how we always get into the...
No, because I'm trying to end the segment, Vincent, and you just keep interrupting.
Hey, respect Eric. Let him move the show on. Respect Eric, please.
Vincent, this is crazy. Like, I need, like, please. So now everybody is clear on what Amir is saying. That his suggestion is, if you want to, you can go to, give him the address to go to again.
www.kingofcurrency.net.
Okay.
Register for free as an affiliate.
Right.
Right? And then I can plug them into the trainings that will teach them how to trade for free.
Right.
Right? But if they want to start to trade $1, $3, $5, I can show them how to do that. We have an international system that's operating in 140
countries. I don't want to do an infomercial.
Okay.
Right?
I just don't want them to think that it's just me.
But I don't want to do an infomercial. I just want to give them information.
Okay.
So now what I'd like to do, because I don't know what next Wednesday show is going to be in terms of growing from this to something else. Maybe because I've seen you hold classes. I don't know if you're still doing it because of COVID-19, right?
Online.
Okay.
So what I hold classes every week. Yes.
So what I'd like to do is invite maybe 2 of the people who've done this and get their perspective on how it's going. Let's do that. Let's try to do that.
Eric, so I get to, let me and you start this off, okay? Because it's your show, right? And I want to be able to show you, because you have a level, you and Diane.
No. I just want to, all I want to do, I want to keep it real simple. I just want to bring somebody on, right? Because you've been doing it with people, right? And so I want them now to come on and talk about it. That's all.
Okay.
That's all. And so maybe we can do that, and then people can be more edified in terms of how it works from a practical standpoint. Because you've told other people about it, they've done it, and I'd like to get their stories. How it's working out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
That might
so I have about 475 people that I've personally helped.
I just need 2.
Okay.
All right, and then we can learn more about it from a different perspective.
Okay.
All right, my brother.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later. But Eric, listen, I'll talk to you at a later time. But I want to send you some additional information about the in general industry of where we're going and what's happening now. Because, like I told you, there's some things that's happening that they're not showing us on the news. The government is purposely not showing us the laws that they're changing in the banking industry that's putting poor people at a deficit. Okay, so we'll talk about that.
All right. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Listen, Diane, are you still there? Oh, I don't know if she's there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I fact checked the website. I looked at.
I don't want to put it in thread.
Okay.
Yeah, put it in thread. There are a couple other articles that Diane sent. One is about reopening the economy, and I agree with this. It hinges on school safety. We talked about this before. I don't know, and you talked about it, Vincent, about children getting getting sick and some dying from something that's related to COVID-19. And so part of it, and here's part of it, guys, with the schools, it's not just about the kids, right? But it's also about the staff in the schools, from the teachers to the custodial staff, to everybody else, to the cafeteria staff, everybody else. So when you're talking about opening the schools and people say, well, the children are not getting, but they may be carriers, right? Even though they don't get sick. And all of those people that they're exposed to are now at risk. And so I don't know, and I read an article that said these schools will not open until there's a vaccine. And I agree with that. I wouldn't send my kids.
Yeah.
I would not.
I have to agree with that too, Eric, because you have to think, you opening up, honestly, you can't open up many businesses until the child care is taken care of first, because many people have kids. So what do you do? Where do the kids stay? Babies, little kids, toddlers, they can't stay home by themselves.
They sure can. And you're looking at children being the biggest carrier of diseases that they bring home. Even though you send your child to the school where they're not.
Hey, listen, how many times you send your kid off to kindergarten or first grade and they came back with a runny nose? Right?
That's right.
Because there's a petri dish there. And all those kids are wiping their noses, they're not washing their hands, they're sneezing, right, on the toys that they're playing with. All of this stuff is going on. They're sneezing in their hands, they're touching stuff, then another kid touches it. When they work in groups on projects and stuff, they're sharing pieces of paper and pencils and pens and everything. Are you kidding me?
Man, you look at classroom overcrowding for middle schools. All it takes is one kid to cough in the air. And 15, and within 5 to 10 feet, they are now infected with the virus.
Yeah, they're not opening up. They're not opening up. I don't have any school age kids, but I wouldn't be sending my kids. And anybody I know who has a kid, I would be advocating for them not to go. Listen, Diane, God, I don't really want to talk about it. You sent me the results of the election in Orange. How pathetic was that? Out of all of those people in Orange, you had what was it? Like 17,000 whatever registered voters or whatever the number was they posted in this article, and you had the mayor get 1,000 some votes.
Yep. What they said in the article was over 17,000 registered voters. The majority of people just did not turn in their mail-in ballots.
Vincent?
They didn't say they didn't get it. They just said they just did not participate.
Now, Vincent, remember I said to you, I said wait until this election. Things are not going to change. Remember I said that to you? Right?
Yeah.
And so here we go. The proof is going to be in the pudding. So those people in Orange, they suffer from some of the highest taxes, right, in Essex County. They have piss poor services. They've got the feds crawling all over City Hall. They carted out boxes and computers and all kinds of stuff, right? The mayor sold them on a rec center and a library, which is now defunct and non-operational. All these things. And they voted him back in. And somebody asked me.
Guys, can I just say junk mail? The reason I'm going to say that is because I can personally say I know of 3 people who either threw away their ballot or just never looked at it twice because they thought it was just part of the regular junk mail. Okay? I know this because I had to say to these people, yo, did you fill out your ballot? And they was like, no, I didn't get one. I was like, no, you didn't get one, right? And I was like, I got one, right? For my address in Newark. And I was like, so I was like, well, this is what it should look like, right? So before I mailed mine off, I showed everybody what it looks like.
Farrakhan.
And once I did that, okay, people, they actually went back and found it.
But Farrakhan,
right?
listen.
And I was like, no, I still had it. Right? And I was like, okay, now I'll mail it off. Right?
Because you know the thing with the mail-in ballot is the education that was not done properly. Because for one, people did not. The Board of Elections did not advise people on what it should look like, what to look for in the mail. They didn't advise them, so they went based off of, I need the votes the way I need the votes to come out, so I'm not giving out any information. However, when you want to get information out about something, about voting for this person, there was an abundance of mailers coming out. This time, nothing. No mailers. Only thing I saw for the campaign for Newark school board election, I saw some sponsored ads that they posted, that they purchased on Facebook. And I saw maybe one ad, I think on NJ.com or something like that, but that was it. They were not targeting or going after anybody. Anybody.
Eric, did you post anything about the mail-in ballot and what they look like?
I didn't post. Listen, I stayed as far away from these elections as I could. Diane, this is the first time
Eric,
you saw
did
almost.
The people such a disservice.
Listen, this is the first. You know what? No.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our individual responsibility to save the world. Some people have to take responsibility. Some people, like any other time there's an election, you know there's a group of certain people that will call you. Who should I vote for? What's going on?
Here's the deal.
None of those things were happening in this past election because everybody's focused on November.
This is what I'll say to you. People know they can remember birthdays. They put them in their calendars. Like Amir said, people have phones, right? They put this stuff in their calendars and everything. The election is no surprise. It comes every 4 years. Every 4 years. In Newark, there's a school board election every year. Every year. It's not like somebody arbitrarily dropped an election out of the sky. That didn't happen.
But hold up, Eric. You're right about that. But if you look at the percentage of the registered voters for Newark that voted, the people that go out to the polls and voted, they voted in the election.
Yep.
That same 5% is still voting.
No, that's
5% registered voters for the city of Newark, right? That voted in last year's school board election.
You know why?
Did it again.
But understand what happened. But this is and you're 100% correct. But that ticket, right? They have a very specific targeted audience that they mail out to, that they communicate to, that they stay in touch with. They have tentacles through their organizations that reach out to those people. They don't give a damn about the other people. They don't care if they never go to the polls. See, it's a racket now. And once you understand this, you're 100% correct, Farrakhan. So that same percentage is going to vote for the people who they tell them to vote for because they're all benefiting from it, right? But the masses are not benefiting. The masses are under distress.
But the masses are the people who didn't vote yesterday.
No. I understand that, and that's why I say let them just fall off the cliff. Like seriously, Look. You do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So you don't go out and vote. You don't participate. You don't go and read. You're not
Eric,
curious.
Don't sincerely believe that.
What?
If you did, you wouldn't have this show.
No. Listen to me, Farrakhan. Listen. Farrakhan. Listen.
I have to agree with you, Farrakhan.
No.
I mean, you and I don't always agree, but I'm with you on this one.
Listen to me.
Check this out, Eric. Yesterday, I was the last caller that was probably calling right as you guys were getting off because of the statement that you made, right? You said something to the effect of, something about the elections. You didn't want to talk about them. It was like the last thing you said. Something about like not talking about elections. It really wasn't going to matter. And I called up because I wanted to say no. Because if anything, you have to thank those that participate. You got to say to those that ran, thank you for running. It doesn't matter if I voted for you or not. I didn't vote for. Apparently, there were 6 or 7 people.
Listen,
She
I
only
have
voted
come.
for 3.
Somebody, then you have to tell me. Listen, you have to
You have to embrace the situation. We have to push it until it catches.
You have to talk me off this cliff then, because where I am right now is there are a group of people, we refer to them as the informed class. And I've said this before on the show. Look, the story of Noah was that God told him that a flood was coming and to go build an ark, right? But he didn't tell him to build an ark that was going to fit everybody on the planet. He told him to build an ark of very specific size, understanding that only a certain number of people and a certain number of animals were going to get on it. So yes, this show is being built and I'm going to continue to do it. But I'm clear now, Farrakhan, that only a certain number of people are going to get on it. Only a certain number of people are going to tune in. The rest of them are a detriment to us all. I'm convinced of that, unless somebody can convince me of something different. And so I'm looking, saying their ignorance, their apathy, everything about them is driving us further and further into a ditch. And we have to, my father said, those who you won't let die won't let you live. And so I have to now, because I don't have limitless energy, right? I don't have limitless resources. So I have to now start to look at 57 years old, Farrakhan, and say, how can I strategically allocate my resources to maximize return?
So you say that they need to fall off a cliff?
The ones, listen, we have to look and say, those people don't want to be saved. They don't. Let them go. Let them go. Now, the ones who do, hey, let's lock arms and go to war. But the rest of them, we got to say that. Unless somebody can convince me differently.
If I could talk on the statement you made
try to
about
talk me
Noah
off
and
this
the ark, those people didn't want to get on that ship or that floating farm until it actually started raining.
Yeah. Then it was too late.
Exactly.
It was too late. You understand? So I'm looking, saying, look, I can scream and holler that a tsunami is coming, or I can now start running. And what I'm doing now is I'm running. I'm not standing here anymore telling you a tsunami is coming. If you don't want to start running, then you just stay right there. I'm gone. I'm in the wind.
Or you can stand there like Charleston Heston and go, behold, it comes.
I mean, so I feel for these kids in Newark, because I can tell you not one of those board members has a clue. Not one of the people who got elected has a clue on how to guide these.
Who was elected? I didn't read the article. They didn't show.
Council, Josephine Garcia, Harstani Council, and Floecia. What's your Floecia's last name? Johnson, I think.
Johnson. Right. So the question
they were part of the mayor. They were the mayor's
yes.
people.
Listen, it's a racket, Diane. It's a racket. So
it's a racket.
Look, I'm telling you, it's a $1 billion scheme, guys. So what occurred? Understand what happened. You used to have the North Ward battling the mayor, right? Whoever the mayor was, because the mayor's black. So the mayor, for all intents and purposes, would control votes out of the black community, right? So the South Ward, the Central Ward, and the West Ward, right? And I remember a long time ago when I was 11, 12 years old, they used to say, you know what, if you control these three wards, these three black wards, then you control, power in Newark, right? So black mayor controls South Ward, Central Ward, West Ward. Then you had the Hispanics, right, controlling the North Ward, and then you had the East Ward, kind of unto themselves, but they would, join with the North Ward to battle against the black folks. That's how it was always done. And so you had war in the street every election time once the school board became an elected school board. But then they had this bright idea. They said, hey, look, why are we fighting over this? We can all share. It's $1 billion. The people don't care anyway. So then they all sat down and they all said, well, okay, you pick a person, and I'm going to get a person. And we're going to have a team. And we each going to get our people on there. Why are we going to battle with each other? And that's what they do. So they sit in a room and they decide who they want, right? So the North Ward has a person, that's Garcia. The mayor has a person, whoever that person is. And then the big money people, right? Because you don't hear anything from the charter folks anymore, right? Because they got in on the racket. They said, hey, look, if we fund some of this stuff, then we don't have to fight either, right? So then they put their person out there. And so now they're all represented. And then they divvy up the pie. Come on, stop it. It's a racket. And so Farrakhan, so each of those people, so the mayor is responsible for delivering a certain number of votes. The North Ward is responsible for delivering a certain number of votes, and that charter school coalition or whatever they are now is responsible for delivering a certain number of votes, and that's what they do, and that's why you see that. That's why you see that same percentage come out, because they just go to work. They got all the data, right? They couldn't go knock on doors this time, so they just made the phone calls to the people. And the people did, they just herded them like cattle to fill out their ballots and to mail them in. That's it. It's a racket. And but in the end, right? Woe is me in terms of all of those kids who are going to be further and further behind, because none of that election was about them. It was all about politics over them.
That's absolutely right, Eric. And what frustrates me more is not so much of the people that come on that are just stupid to begin with. The fact that the residents and the parents who really need the help for their kids are not pushing hard for better education, and especially in this time for better technology to teach your kids while they're home. They're not pushing for that. So their kids are losing out. So while their kids were 2 and 3 grade levels behind while they were in person in classes, they're going to be 5 and 6 grade levels behind because they're just going to zone out. And we're going to have more dropouts than we've had before, because once they're out, some of these kids won't come back. They won't come back. And then the system that the school system has in place, because they don't have truancy officers or enough to go after these parents and these kids to locate them, there are going to be a lot of kids that fall off the grid.
Yes. So, yeah. So those people didn't, look, nobody asked them, because they didn't care. What acumen do you have, right, that is going to get us out of this ditch? Because if they asked that question, none of those people would have been on a ticket to run. None of them, not one. And then ask the question in orange, right? For all of the people who are insecure right now in terms of housing and other kinds of issues, right? You've got Dwayne Warren, who's been there 8 years now. Right? So now this is his 3rd term. So he's been there 8 solid years. You don't consider any of whatever your condition is to in part be because of him? I'm just asking. So I don't get it. So I mean I do get it. So
no, Eric, what you're experiencing is what we experience a lot of times at every election. It's the frustration of the right thing and you know where the people should go. However, you preach from your soapbox and you shout from mountains on high. You go out and you spread the word and you inform people. And it gets to be so disheartening and disappointing that the election day comes on and all your good work show no fruit because of cronyism and partisan politics. And they've gotten down to a system. And once again, we're dealing with a group of people in the city of Newark that have been oppressed so much that they don't know how to win.
This is not just not just Newark. It's Orange. It's East Orange. It's Irvington.
Hey, New Jersey. It's Black America, guys, right? Or poor America, whatever you want to call it, right? And you're dead right, Vincent. There comes a point when you people just, I don't want to say surrender, but you don't look at, nobody's going to blame Dwayne Warren. If I'm 47 years old and I've been poor since I was in the womb, right? I am poor and black in the womb, come out the womb, and I'm still poor and black for 47 years, let's just say. Then Dwayne Warren being the mayor since I was 39 will not mean anything, right? And I'm not going to say he does not reflect my life. So because of that, the average person is going to look back and say, he ain't do a bad job or a good job.
Right. That's right, Farrakhan, because the thing with poverty is when you see a lot of families that are on welfare, WIC, and housing, you see a lot of generational poverty. If you look in the city of Camden, I can definitely speak on that. When my daughter was teaching in Camden, it wasn't one generation. It was 2, 3, and 4 generations of families that were on welfare and that were in poverty. So again, going back to the town hall, what Stacey Abrams said yesterday, until we address poverty, homelessness, housing, all of these other economics, we will not get out of this situation. We will just go further into the hole.
But when she talks about addressing those things, she talks about addressing them from all aspects of government. Right, so now we're the hamster on the wheel now, right? Because if you're saying that, well, if you're impoverished and you got these generations of poverty, then you're less likely to hold accountable those people who should be held accountable, right? And so you're not going to.
And she spoke to that. She said this starts locally.
Right.
You have to locally
but there's a racket.
pay attention.
But but I'm saying to you, so there, guys, is the racket, right? Because they understand that it's institutional. They understand that because it's generational, that you're going to be apathetic to it. And so they just run game on you election after election.
Yeah, but here's the game that they run, and they pimp people with poverty. They say, vote for me because I'm going to help, and I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you with that. And we blindly give them that Democratic vote. And what do we get for it? Nothing.
So that's why, Farrakhan. So I look at some point, I got to say, not only for them, but for me too. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. So I've got to change what it is that I'm doing because it's just insane. You know, so to all of the people who understand that the house is on fire. It is an inferno now. Please mute your phone.
Hey, big bro, I gotta get off the phone. But before I get off, I just want to say we need a little crazy if shit's gonna change. So let's go crazy.
Let's go crazy. Oh, there you go. You know what? Yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you.
All right. Y'all all have a great day. I'm gonna try and listen while I do what I do.
All right.
All right, Farrakhan.
Hey, Diane. You know I always gotta.
Yes, sir.
So I'm and Vincent. I am gonna bake. My daughter inspired me to bake sourdough bread.
Did you see the article I sent you?
On the flour?
About flour, and the flour is disappearing everywhere. Initially, when the pandemic started, it was the water, sanitizer,
toilet paper.
Tissue. And now the second wave is one company said that his increase in the flour business has been exponential. He said it's crazy how big and how much people are now reverting back to baking.
Yeah.
And it's your fault, Eric. It's your fault.
Hey, Diane, I told Vincent earlier on the show, I went to the store to get some flour 2 days ago. What day was that it was yesterday. Yesterday, and they had no flour. None. Zero.
Yep.
Zero. In fact, I went to 2 stores. They had no flour. But
once again, the Eric Dawson Show is ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve, I'm telling you. But I do. But listen, much like my toilet paper, I stockpiled my flour. Hey, listen now. So I'm gonna bake, but I realized in order to bake sourdough bread, you have to have what's called a starter, right? So it's called a sourdough starter, right? And it's interesting. Remember we were talking yesterday with Deidre, and we were saying that baking is a science.
Yeah.
So guys, you got to do this. I'm gonna do it. You create a starter by adding water and flour, and you
What kind of flour?
Oh gosh, Diane. Okay.
Yeah,
baking flour, self-rising flour.
Wait a minute. All right.
See? Because you got me the last time.
Yeah, you did get her.
All right. I'm trying to look it up real quick. It's a little bit of wheat flour, I believe it was.
Well, I got that.
It's a little bit of. it's a little, wait, okay, so here are the steps. So day 1, it says use the kitchen scale to add 25 grams of whole wheat flour, 25 grams of all-purpose flour, and 50 grams of water. It says stir to combine. It says the mixture should look like a thick paste. Cover the jar and place it in a warm location for 24 hours. It says the temperature of your room can have a big effect on the speed of which the starter grows. So this thing is actually going to grow because there's bacteria and stuff in there, right? So it's alive, and so it's going to grow. And it says day 2, you may or may not see a few bubbles starting to appear in the starter. Either way, discard about half of the starter and add the same ingredients to the jar, 25 grams of whole wheat. So now you're feeding it. That's what they call feeding the starter, because this thing is actually living. That's crazy, right, Diane? So
sounds disgusting, but go ahead.
Right, and so then on day 3, right, so then you cover it again, right, so this thing is doing what it's doing. On day 3, it says you will likely see a few more bubbles today. The starter should start to smell a little bit sour, in a good way though. It said again, discard half of it. Today you'll switch to using only all-purpose flour this time. Add 50 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of water, stir to combine, cover the jar, and place it in a warm place for another 24 hours. So on day 4, you should see a lot more bubbles, and the starter should increase in volume. So now it's growing. This is crazy. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sure I would mess up that recipe.
Wait a minute. But Gaetano says yeast, but there's no yeast. This is just flour. Now, we put no yeast in there. It's just flour and water. It says on day 5, the starter will be very bubbly and double in volume. It will have a funky, sour smell that indicates the magic of sourdough is ready to happen. The starter is ready to use, and now there's a set of instructions. So now you have this thing. Because my daughter, when she did it, she said, Daddy, somebody gave me a starter. And I'm like, what? Right? She goes, yeah, they gave me a starter, so I'm going to make some sourdough bread. So I didn't pay any attention to it, but then she sent me the picture of it. It was amazing looking. And then she also made with it, because she had extra, she made some English muffins. So I'm like, I got to do this now. So especially if you have kids, do it with your kids, because it's like a science experiment. But this thing is a living organism. But here's my question. When we say living, ready for this? Because vegans, right, talk about no living thing, but this thing is living and it's growing. So is it really?
Who said it was living? You said it was living. It's living off of the air.
No,
I think it's the air that
is
motivates
an organism.
it.
No,
I think when
Diane, it's an organism.
Is it the organ the air?
It's an organism.
How so?
That's what it says.
Yeah, but one thing I don't understand about vegans is that how come they dispute the fact that plants are actually living too?
We're going to have that conversation one day. They're going to have that conversation. But anyway, I don't want to beat up on vegans. Huh? I know. I don't.
Luckily, it's 12:06.
Yeah, we're not going to beat up on vegans today.
I can't take another headache.
The Squire attacks another group.
Hey, Diane, but do you want to do this with me?
No, because I'm going to definitely mess it up. I'm scared.
Also,
I got to get my regular bread right.
Also, in the 90s, it was considered a chain bakery, just like chain letters.
What was considered? What was considered?
There's a part where you divide it in half and you give it to somebody else.
Oh.
Because it continues to grow. So, and they do the same process with the half that they got.
Oh, with the starter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So, well, I guess
Dollar General got a big old truck. They about to unload a whole bunch of toilet tissue.
Who?
Yeah.
Dollar General.
Oh, you're why? All right. I'm on my way.
There you go. Here comes the stampede.
I'm coming. Hey, Diane, save a couple rolls for me. Hey, Diane, is it 2-ply?
I'm gonna wait wait until they completely unload because that's too much human contact for me.
Listen,
I'll catch them on the way back.
Diane, I need 2-ply quilted, please. Thank you.
2-ply quilted.
Yes.
Okay. Is that Charmin or is that the other stuff that you like?
It doesn't matter, but 2-ply quilted.
Oh, okay. I don't know how many plies I get, but I love Charmin.
The single ply is a little rough. You guys
that must be the Scotch issue.
have a good day. Thank you guys for tuning in. Share the show.
Everybody